Laurie here, and this is a glimpse into my childhood. This is me in the 50s with my mother, obviously a Marilyn Monroe look-alike. I was conceived out of wedlock, and my mother went on to be married 7 times. She was also a raging alcoholic. She is a very beautiful woman, as you can see in this photo where she's holding me as a little baby. But of the 7 men my mother married, one treated me as a father should treat a son. His name was Oscar Laurie. That's him there with little Greg. And Oscar was in the Navy. This is something he gave to me, a little statue of a sailor. And so it was really hard when my mom just left him one day. I was getting out of school in New Jersey where we lived, and our Cadillac was loaded with all this luggage, and my mom said, "Come on, we're going to the airport." I said, "Where are we going?" She said, "We're going to Hawaii." I said, "Well, where's Dad?" She said, "He's not coming." I didn't see him for the rest of my childhood. It was very hard for me because he treated me, as I said, as a father should treat a son. So we arrive in Hawaii. Here's some guy I've never seen before. And my mom says, "That's your new dad." They literally took my room that I had in New Jersey in our home there and recreated it in Hawaii. But the problem with this new guy my mom married is he was an alcoholic, but a violent one. And when he got drunk, he would hit. So one night, him and my mom were fighting, and I heard a loud thud. I came out of my room, and there laying on the floor in a pool of blood is my mother. He's standing over her with a wooden statue with blood on it, and I still remember what he said to me. He said, "Go back to bed, she's fine, it's just ketchup." Even as a little kid, I understood what was happening. I climbed out the window of my bedroom, went to a neighbor's house, the police were called, the paramedics were called, and so we came back to California. So fast forward many years, I become a Christian. I became a believer at 17. I started preaching at 19. I started pastoring at 20. So I knew that my dad, Oscar Laurie, lived somewhere in the East Coast, and I thought, I'm going to try to look him up. So I had a friend that worked for the Bar Association. This is before Google. And we found him. So I called him up and said, "I'm going to be in New York preaching. Could I come and visit you?" And he said, "Oh, yes, come and stay the weekend at our house." So I went back there with my wife, Kathy, and our son, Christopher, who was very young at that point. And we spent time together, and I was able, by God's grace, to share the gospel with Oscar Laurie, and he became a Christian. And he lived for 15 more years and walked with the Lord. It was such a beautiful thing. Well, I had a full-time ministry talking to my mother's old husbands. So I'm in Hawaii preaching, and at a place called the Waikiki Shell. Someone tells me, "Hey, your dad, it lives right here. He lives over across from Waikiki Shell. You should go see him because he's very sick." I didn't want to go. I said, "No, that's okay." I had his address. I don't want to go see him. Why? Because my heart was hard toward him. I didn't want to share the gospel with him because I was still mad at him. But the Lord spoke to my heart and said, "You go to him with the gospel," which I did. So Kathy and I went to his home, a little apartment actually, and I told him all about what Christ had done for me and shared how Jesus could change his life and asked him if he wanted Christ to come into his life. He said, "No." "Well, would you like to come over and hear me speak across the street, literally, at the Waikiki Shell?" Again, he said, "No." Very disappointing. And to my knowledge, he never did make a commitment to Christ. But here's the thing. God has not called me to convert people. I can't convert people, nor can you. My job is to share the truth of God's word. But it helped me put my past behind me. It helped me to forgive him. So here's my question to you. Is there someone you need to go to with the gospel? It's a way for you to put your past in the past and bring some redemption to your past, because God can intervene and take the twisted mess of our life and put it together in a beautiful new way and make all things new. So I encourage you, in this new year, if you have someone you need to forgive, someone you need to take the gospel to, do it. You'll be glad that you did. God can bring beauty out of ashes. He can redeem your past. Go to someone that needs to be forgiven and forgive them. Go to someone who needs to hear the gospel and share it. The rest, that's up to God.